Hello, welcome to Alchemize Yourself Tarot. This reading is for those of you who are breaking the twin flame spell. The twin flame narrative is tailor-made to romanticize emotional chaos. It's like spiritual gaslighting wrapped in poetic language, like runner-chaser, mirroring, union after separation, divine purpose through pain. All of it frames dysfunction as destiny. So here are some gaslighting mechanisms that are being played out in this narrative, in this programming. They leave. They're the runner. Instead of acknowledging abandonment, you're told they're running from the intensity of true love. So you wait and you suffer because you believe reunion is inevitable and sacred. They're toxic. You're just being mirrored. So every red flag becomes your shadow. Their disrespect isn't harmful. It's reflecting your inner wounds. This spiritualizes their mistreatment and blames you for it. You're obsessed. That's proof that it's real. Your inability to let go, even when you're deeply unhappy, is interpreted as the magnetic power of the soul bond, not as trauma bonding or codependency. They hurt you, that's part of the journey. You're taught that pain is necessary for growth, that this is the dark night of the soul, not an unhealthy relationship. You stop trusting your own instincts because the spiritual narrative overrules them. No contact, it's just a phase before union. Instead of closure, you're given false hope. Instead of healing, you're encouraged to wait and love and keep working on yourself as if that's the only way to earn their return. So what this narrative is doing, it's hijacking your hope, your depth, and your desire for meaning. Especially if you're spiritually inclined, it gives cosmic purpose to your suffering. And that's what makes it so dangerous. You're not just grieving a relationship, you're grieving a myth that you're being sold. So we're going to break this down into a spread about breaking this spell and healing from this gaslighting that you may be believing or feeling really confused about. And I don't want you to think that you're the problem for feeling hurt or confused or ready to walk away. You're being told to surrender while the other person does whatever they want. Your healing becomes about winning them back, not reclaiming your own power. And just to be honest, a real soul connection won't require you to abandon yourself. Pain doesn't automatically mean twin flame, and love doesn't have to hurt to be meaningful. You're allowed to question this narrative. You're allowed to walk away and still be on a sacred spiritual path. So let's break this down from the origin, what you got, because I think it's important to look at the root of what causes us to get sucked into some of these narratives and how we can still be on our spiritual path but still question some of these things that are out there belief systems that are out there that can turn harmful. Now, the whole twin flame journey is actually a metaphor for a lot of deeper esoteric polarity work. Okay, I feel like it's really been hijacked by certain people in the community. So while it exists on a metaphorical, archetypal level, I feel like people have gotten really confused with it being a romantic thing between two people. So it's not like these energies don't play out in reality. It's just when we project that narrative onto a dynamic, that's when it can create stagnancy and blockages and a lot of pain. So just to clarify that, there can be a level of gaslighting that it's like you're literally, or even cognitive dissonance, something's not adding up with what you're seeing in reality. And I'll probably go deeper into that later as well. But this is, for now, we're going to be talking about breaking this spell, getting to the root of it, and breaking free from it if it's causing hurt or stagnancy. So what part of you got hooked? Ten of Wands. Yeah, burdens. You've believed in struggle, love. You felt like carrying all these burdens is worth it in some way to, become enlightened or, come into union with a particular person. Like all the stress is just never ending. It's constantly stressing out about your value, your worth, what's going on with that person, carrying a lot of those burdens. Maybe you believe that love is supposed to be a struggle, that you're supposed to suffer with somebody or be their healer in some way, like taking on that energy as your own. But sometimes with the Ten of Wands, it's like, it's escapism. Like maybe once this all comes together, it's all going to feel really good in the end, right? So you put up with a certain level of struggle and weight, and you romanticize that after the end of separation, everything's going to feel magically lighter. But what truth have you been gaslit into doubting? What's the actual truth? What is the actual truth? Two of Wands in the reverse. Nothing, it's not going anywhere, right? That's the truth, is many of these connections, literally, there's nothing, there's no planning, there's no forward movement, no decisions being made, between you and another person. And it does feel heavy because you're holding on to something that's really not growing or going anywhere. Because this is about, it says sudden takeoff. Nothing's taking off. It deadens your excitement for the future because you're constantly held in a state of waiting and wondering. But this person's not making any decision. They're not moving anything forward. They may even have their own baggage. So you're waiting on them to figure that out to move your own life forward. So you're gaslit into thinking that something's going to eventually start moving forward or going somewhere. And also the 10 and the 2 of Wands, that equals out numerologically to the 3 of Wands. So it's like that expansion, that growth, that forward movement. It just doesn't happen. what painful dynamic have you been spiritualizing? How have you been spiritualizing this? Yeah, Chariot in the reverse and Ace of Cups. You're believing that unconditional love will somehow magically overcome the pain, the burdens, the struggle, everything that you've been through with this person. And in the process, you're rejecting yourself, right? You're actually not loving yourself, because you're not moving forward with your own life and goal and plans. You're waiting. You're stuck in a holding pattern, waiting for this person to figure their life out, because you feel like you're spiritually connected to them and that you have to sacrifice yourself. So you're actually sacrificing and abandoning your own self-love by unconditionally loving this person. And there's nothing wrong with unconditional love, but that can be a form of gaslighting, because when unconditional love causes you to reject yourself and create blockages towards your goal, your path, your strength of purpose, then what good is it? So this self-sacrificing, like you have to wait on this person because they are the other half of your soul. And, I just did another video on, the idea of the split soul and the toxicity of that, like feeling like you're incomplete. And a lot of times I see the Chariot as alignment, right? In the original Rider-Waite, it's the two sphinxes, the light and the shadow being in alignment. But what happens is one person is growing or attempting to grow spiritually while the other person is still struggling. It's a misalignment. You're not actually moving the sphinxes or the horses. There's no forward movement. One is pulling back while the other one's wanting to move forward. There's resistance. It almost repels your ability to move forward. So there is this element of unconditional holding space is one that I've heard. Holding space, being in a place of unconditional love. But a lot of times the unconditional love for them is a lack of self-love for yourself. You become sacrificial in a sense. You sacrifice yourself to that narrative, that connection. So you've been spiritualizing this devotion while still not actually having any movement anywhere, right? No planning, no goals, no victory or success, nothing, right? Just stress. So what part of you is ready to break free from this? What part of you is actually, kind of flipped Four of Wands, union. Some of you may still be holding on to the idea of union, but the part of you ready to break free is you want real union. You want a marriage. You want a foundation. You actually want a partnership. You're ready for that. Many of you are actually at the point of breaking free and moving into other connections that are actually more aligned for you. So what part of you is ready? You're ready for something real. Some of you may still be holding out and waiting for some sort of union with this particular person, but it's heavy. And there's this need to acknowledge where you may be abandoning your own self-love and your own purpose, your own goals. So what false hope or illusion needs to be released here? The Eight of Pentacles. that if you just work harder, it goes back to that work. Just keep doing the work. Something's going to happen. If you keep working on it, something will happen. But that's false hope. It's like, just because you're putting a lot more work into it doesn't mean they're going to be reciprocating or giving that back. So what happens is you end up burning out. So don't turn your work and your efforts into false hope. I mean, do the work on yourself. I'm not saying just stop doing work on yourself, but if you're working only for the purpose of union, then you're going to find out, what if they haven't been doing, what if this isn't even part of their plan? Because a lot of times these connections, you're not even on their, you know, if they're not communicating or if they're not initiating anything, you're not even on their radar as far as their priorities. So you need to be putting that work and effort into yourself. So working harder doesn't magically mean that it's going to happen with that person. It may happen with somebody else. The work you put into yourself and your own goals could make you very magnetic with another partner, and many of you will wake up to that. Eight of Pentacles, Ten of Wands too. You may still be under that illusion that you can earn it somehow. How can you return to your own sacred truth? Ooh, Nine of Pentacles, yeah. Eight of Wands, pulling back your energy, shifting your energy and your focus back onto yourself, being independent and grounded, putting that effort into your dreams, your goals, your work, because so much of that spiritual energy is really good for you as far as your own goal and your own ambitions. Stop putting energy into them, right? Because that just feels like a dead end when you put energy into that person. And then when you're believing the narrative, you're actually being gaslighting or gaslit into thinking that that's good. So the sacred truth is to block their energy out, block that energy. Stop taking action towards that connection and put it back into yourself, or actually acknowledge where that energy has been blocked. And the grounded love, what it's going to look like after, you stop feeding into this connection. Grounded love, looks like, yeah, some of you believe it's sacrifice, waiting, not moving forward. Grounded love, it's not that people are never to make sacrifices for love. Love and partnerships take time and effort. Okay, I'm not saying that we should just give up on connections. But there needs to be a shift in perspective when it comes to waiting on somebody and acknowledging that your creative, energetic side is feeling stagnated. Some of you are still in the process of shifting your perspectives on love, because I think you've projected this a fantasy of this onto that person, that you still want to wait. You still want to wait for them. And that's something, of course, you have free will. You have to decide for yourself. But real grounded love isn't going to just flake out on you. So that's going to be a shift in perspective. You're going to see something differently. You're going to start to see this person differently. If someone loves you, they're not going to be erratic, impulsive, in and out, constantly struggling or doing their own thing while you just feed energy into them, right? You're going to stop feeding that energy. So you may have to sacrifice this in order to have a more grounded connection with somebody, you have to kind of stop giving in to the impulse to go back or return to somebody who's not committed, because the Knight of Wands is a connection that's not committed. It's just erratic, somebody that doesn't really know what they want to do, you know. Let's get a few more cards. Why is this Ten of Wands here? Why did you get so hooked? Some of you were, if you were honest, you would acknowledge that you were maybe struggling when you met this person. So you identified, you may have had empathy with their struggle. You wanted to alleviate their pain. It was a way of healing your own pain. Because sometimes we'll feel like we have a lot of pain and it feels good to shift that or project it out onto other people that are suffering or struggling. So it's very, yeah, illusion. You got hooked on an illusion, a trickster energy. And sometimes this is not even this person consciously doing this. They could just be a player, right? But the narrative is what makes it so powerful. It's an illusion. You got hooked on the illusion that you had to struggle to be loved. And you were gaslit into doubting the truth, that you've been gaslit into doubting the actual truth is leap of faith, trusting in the universe. Some of you have been scared to risk leaving something that's not really working or going anywhere. So you've chosen to kind of sit with it. And also maybe you were gaslit into thinking that you should trust the universe, trust in the illusion. That can be really faulty. And that's something we have to be aware of in, you know, the spiritual community, card reading and things like that. You have to be very discerning about the narrative that you come into agreement with. But you know that you've been meaning to start a new cycle, to start over, to let this go, because there's a lack. Maybe you jumped in really quickly. You're realizing that this was very impulsive, that you came into agreement with this narrative. And you've been spiritualizing self-abandonment. You've been spiritualizing that. Aloof, unbothered, distance. You've been spiritualizing their distance. That they're just needing space, right? They're unbothered, they're distant, they don't care. You've spiritualized their lack of not caring, their lack of caring at all. The distance. They leave. They come and go. There's no consistency. And you're supposed to act like you don't care. Some of us, you're gaslit into thinking, well, I need to act unbothered. I need to act like this is not, but that's where you abandon yourself too. You act unbothered when they're distant or aloof, or they act like they don't care. You're kind of trained to abandon yourself, your own needs. But you're ready for something here. You're ready to break free with that Four of Wands. You're ready for a real commitment. How are you ready to break free? Romance, kiss. You're ready for real romance, intimacy. You want to be cared for. You want to be loved. You want to be in physical union with somebody. You want to be married. And those are fine. Those are all things that are beautiful. And you shouldn't have to abandon yourself for something that isn't real. You shouldn't be able to abandon a real dream for that, for an illusion. But the false hope is the Eight of Pentacles, that they'll care, that they'll actually do the work, or that your work will pay off, that the past, like maybe that the past effort that you put in will mean something, that they'll be nostalgic, that they'll care. And that's something that tarot readings do, is like, they'll say, oh, they miss you, this person wants you, they want to reach out. You're constantly in this loop of, oh, they'll communicate soon, they want you, they miss you, right? They're nostalgic. And then you just keep waiting, and that never happens, right? So you're kind of going for, they'll remember, your past efforts are going to pay off, especially when they return. There's always that false hope that they'll eventually come in, they'll want to work on it, they'll want to get married, or they'll want to be in union with you. But returning to your sacred truth, this truth is within yourself. Patience, acceptance, and focus. So being patient, moving towards your own growth and opportunity, and taking care, being vigilant. Your sacred truth is, this doesn't feel right. Yeah, you feel gaslit. You're like, wait a second, this patience, this waiting, or this effort put into them, danger. Use vigilance. Don't continue to feed energy into that. Because a lot of these narratives, the narrative itself is being fed on. People feed on that energy that you're putting into the readings, or the, all of that stuff. You're literally being harvested. And grounded love is going to look really different than this, especially if you've been on this journey for a while and you've been caught in this programming for a while. What does the grounded love look like? Let's see. Grounded love isn't distant and struggle and ghosting and running. Grounded love looks a lot, fake. You're realizing this is all fake. Many of you are going to be awakening to this, or you already have, and it's just like, wait a second, this is fake. It's just gossip. It's just karmic gossip, and waiting and wondering about what that person's doing. It's like you're feeding into like the drama of it. A lot of card readings are going into like the drama of the karmic situation and all of that, and it creates jealousy, attention, and you're trying to act like you don't care, but you actually do, because it's painful. It's painful feeling rejected while still holding on to someone. Yeah, it's isolating. It feels lonely. And you're spiritually awakening. Your higher consciousness tells you something is not right with that. Something's just not right here. And you have to trust in that real intuitive guidance. And that's what I'm here for. I don't want to, twin flames can come up as a topic, but I don't want to feed into false narratives. This is about awakening and breaking free and empowering yourself. Breaking the spell. Don't allow these narratives to have a spell or a hold on you. People are feeding off of this. And they know people are in pain. They know it's hurtful when that person doesn't contact you, or you never see them again, or that you don't have closure, or there's this runner-chaser dynamic. People know that that is a painful experience. It's hurtful. It's a wound. How can you love yourself when you're constantly repeating this narrative of them coming back and then they don't? Like, how can you have self-love in that energy? It's almost impossible. Shadow self. Repressed, hidden wounds, unconscious patterns. The parts of you that you reject will shape your path. Remains in the dark, holds the key to your wholeness. Will you dare to bring it to light? So some of you have to do some deep shadow work on why you've become attached to being gaslit and to thinking these things. There is a shadow element, and there is an element of shadow work that comes with this path. But will you dare to question it? You know, and sometimes it's our ego holding on to these narratives. It has to be right? You want to know or believe that your beliefs, that your narrative is right or real. So you kind of hold on to kind of find little nuggets of proof that it's real. That's the ego. But it has the key to your wholeness, because once you see that, you're going to be able to break free. That's the magic. Yeah, dream walker. Astral travel, prophetic visions, aware. Your spirit roams where others cannot tread. The dream world speaks in symbols, revealing truths wrapped in mist. Trust what you see beyond the veil. Your soul remembers. So from a personal point of view, my journey going through this, I would have dreams and they weren't good ones about a particular person. And I should have trusted that early on. Just because you're having dreams, those dreams will actually give you unconscious feelings and emotions and things from the shadow that are creeping up in regards to these connections. You know? So there could be some dream work that's kind of revealing your shadow, especially those intense dreams that are, you know, you wake up feeling really intense emotions. So for some of you, you will resonate with that. There's something in your dreams revealing your shadow or the shadow element of a particular connection. But I'm going to go deeper into this because I feel like this is something that's really important. And I'm not saying that obviously not all spiritual connections are negative or soulmate. That's a generalization. You can never say all twin flame or soulmate or spiritual connections are negative. But I feel like there is a danger of really being gaslit by some of these narratives, especially ones that keep you in a karmic loop or cycle, especially ones where you're literally abandoning yourself, what you know to be true, your own truth. So I will leave you there. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I love you guys. I wish you the best. Bye.